The arrival, the reconnaissance vessel. Stellar Whisper glided through the darkness of space like a silver needle through black silk. Commander Thex of the Valkorian Empire stood at the observation deck, his forearms clasped behind his elongated torso as he studied the star charts. The Valkorians had ruled over 300 star systems for millennia, their technology so advanced that most species surrendered at the mere sight of their ships. Today they were investigating an anomaly in a backwater system the locals called Sol. The ship's science officer, a being whose translucent skin revealed the complex neural networks beneath, approached with measured steps. "Commander, we're detecting unusual energy patterns from the third planet. The signatures are contradictory. We see primitive radio waves mixed with something else, something our sensors cannot fully identify." Thex's violet eyes narrowed, a gesture that had preceded the conquest of dozens of worlds. Primitive radio waves suggest a pre-space civilization. They should pose no threat to our survey mission. Take us closer. As the Stellar Whisper approached Earth, more anomalies presented themselves. The planet's moon bore structures that seemed both ancient and impossibly advanced. Satellites orbited in perfect synchronization, far too many for a species that had supposedly only achieved spaceflight within the last century. Most disturbing of all, the reconnaissance vessel's advanced sensors kept experiencing brief moments of static, as if something was actively interfering with their scans. "Commander," the navigation officer called out, her voice carrying the harmonic tones of her species. "We're being hailed. The message is coming from the planet's surface, but it's using our own communication protocols. That should be impossible. No one outside the Empire knows these codes." Thex felt the first stirring of unease in his three hearts. "Put it through." The view screen flickered to life, revealing a human face. The being was unremarkable by galactic standards. Bipedal, single head, 2 eyes, basic mammalian features. But there was something in those eyes that made Thex's instincts scream danger. They held a depth of experience that seemed impossible for such a young species. "Greetings, Commander Thex of the Valkorian Empire," the human said in perfect Valkorian, without any translation device visible. "I am Ambassador Marcus Chen of Earth. We've been expecting you." The bridge fell silent. No species had ever been expecting the Valkorians. They were always the ones who arrived unannounced, bringing either subjugation or destruction. Thex recovered his composure quickly. "You know of us? How is this possible? Your world shows no signs of interstellar capability." Marcus Chen smiled, and it was neither friendly nor hostile, merely knowing. "Commander, there are many things about humanity that would surprise you. We've been watching the galaxy for quite some time. We know about your empire, your conquests, and your methods. We chose to remain hidden, developing in our own way, at our own pace. But since you're here, let's discuss your intentions." Thex's initial surprise hardened into irritation. This primitive dared to speak as an equal. "Our intentions are simple, human. The Valkorian Empire catalogs all inhabited worlds. Those with sufficient development are offered membership. Those without are marked for future consideration. Given your planet's current state, you fall into the second category." "I see," Marcus replied, his tone thoughtful. "And if we decline your gracious offer of cataloging?" The commander's mandibles clicked in amusement. "Decline? You misunderstand, human. This is not a negotiation. The Valkorian Empire does not seek permission. A sudden alarm cut through his words. The tactical display lit up with warnings as something massive appeared directly behind the Stellar Whisper. It had been there all along, hidden by some form of technology that the Valkorians' best sensors hadn't detected. The object was a ship, but unlike anything in the Valkorian databases. It was angular, brutal in its simplicity, all hard edges and weapon ports. It looked less like a spacecraft and more like a fortress that had learned to fly. "Commander Thex," Marcus Chen continued, his voice calm despite the tension. "That is the UES Resilience, one of our patrol vessels. I want you to understand something important. Humanity has survived ice ages, plagues, world wars, and our own worst impulses. We've looked into the abyss of extinction more times than you can imagine, and each time, we've pulled ourselves back through sheer determination. We learned something from those experiences. The human paused, allowing the weight of his words to settle. We learned that the universe is hostile, that peace must be earned, and that strength is not measured in the size of your empire, but in the will to protect what you love. We've watched empires like yours rise and fall from the shadows. We've studied your tactics, your technology, your weaknesses. We chose isolation not from fear, but from wisdom. But make no mistake, we are not prey. Thex's tactical officer whispered urgently, "Commander, I'm detecting more signatures. They're appearing all around us, dozens of them. How did we not see them?" The view screen split, showing Marcus Chen on one side and a tactical display on the other. Human ships were materializing from what seemed like empty space. They weren't as large as Valkorian vessels, but there was something unsettling about their design. While Valkorian ships were works of art, smooth and elegant, these human vessels looked like they were built for one purpose: war. "Your cloaking technology," Thex said slowly, his analytical mind working through the implications. "It's beyond anything we've encountered." Marcus nodded. "We had to get creative. When you're a single world surrounded by galactic empires, you learn to hide well. But we've also learned when to reveal ourselves. Commander, I'm going to be direct with you. Turn your ship around. Report to your empire that Sol System is under the protection of Earth. Any aggressive action against us will be met with a response that your empire is not prepared for." The commander's pride flared. The Valkorian Empire had never retreated from primitives. "You dare threaten us? We could have a full battle fleet here within cycles. Your handful of ships would be cosmic dust." Before, a beam of brilliant white light lanced out from the Resilience, passing mere meters from the Stellar Whisper's hull. It continued for several thousand kilometers before striking a small asteroid, which didn't explode. It simply ceased to exist, converted entirely to energy in a flash that momentarily outshone the distant sun. "That was a warning shot," Marcus said quietly. "Our weapons don't just destroy, Commander. They unmake. We developed them not to conquer, but to ensure that those who would conquer us think twice. We've seen what your empire does to worlds that resist. We've calculated the probabilities. If you bring a fleet, we will fight, and win or lose. The cost to your empire will be catastrophic." Thex studied the tactical display, his mind running through battle scenarios. The human ships were smaller, yes, but they had appeared from nowhere. Their weapons were unknown quantities. And there was something else, something in the way the human ambassador spoke, not with the bravado of the weak trying to appear strong, but with the quiet confidence of someone holding cards not yet revealed. "You're gambling that we won't risk a full engagement over an insignificant world," Thex said. "No," Marcus replied. "I'm stating a fact. Humanity doesn't gamble with its survival. We prepare. We've been preparing since we first looked up at the stars and realized we weren't alone. Every war we've fought, every challenge we've overcome has been training for this moment. We don't want to fight you, Commander, but if you force our hand, you'll discover that humanity's greatest strength isn't our technology or our weapons. It's our absolute refusal to surrender." The bridge of the Stellar Whisper was silent except for the hum of instruments. Thex's officers waited for his command, tension thick in the recycled air. The commander found himself at a crossroads he'd never expected to face with a supposedly primitive species. The reckoning 3 cycles had passed since the Stellar Whisper's encounter with Earth. Commander Thex stood before the Valkorian High Council, delivering his report to beings who had never known defeat. The council chamber was a marvel of architecture, with walls that showed the real-time view of 300 conquered systems. Each star was a testament to Valkorian supremacy. "You retreated from primitives?" High Counselor Krex's voice dripped with disbelief and disgust. "The same Thex who conquered the Meridian Cluster now tells us that a single world of bipeds made him turn tail?" Thex remained steady. "I made a tactical decision based on unknown variables. The humans possess technology we don't understand, and their psychological profile suggests they would fight to the last being rather than surrender. The cost-benefit analysis..." "Enough," Krex slammed two of his forearms on the crystalline podium. The Valkorian Empire does not conduct cost-benefit analysis with primitives. We subjugate or we destroy. There is no third option. You will return with the Fifth Armada. Admiral Vrex will assume command, and you will have the honor of watching. As we teach these humans the price of defiance, the Fifth Armada was the pride of the Valkorian Empire. 200 ships, each one capable of reducing a continent to glass. As they emerged from hyperspace at the edge of Sol system, Admiral Vrex stood on the bridge of the flagship Eternal Dominion, confident in victory. Thek stood beside him, silent, but observant. "Sensor sweep," Vrex commanded. "I want to know the position of every human vessel." The tactical officer worked his console, then frowned. "Admiral, I'm detecting nothing. No ships, no energy signatures beyond basic planetary emissions. It's as if their entire fleet has vanished." Rex's eyes gleamed with satisfaction. "They've hidden themselves again. No matter. We'll draw them out. Target their moon. One shot should be sufficient to demonstrate." "Admiral," the communications officer interrupted. "Incoming transmission from Earth." The view screen activated, but this time it wasn't Marcus. Chen. A human female appeared, wearing what looked like a military uniform. Her expression was carved from stone, her eyes holding the weight of command. "I am Admiral Sarah Mitchell of Earth Defense Command. You are trespassing in human space, with hostile intent. This is your final warning. Leave now or face the consequences." Vrex laughed, a sound like breaking crystal. "You hide your pitiful fleet and expect threats to save you? Fire on their moon. Let them watch as we—" He never finished the sentence. Space around the Fifth Armada suddenly came alive. Not with ships appearing from cloak, but with something far more unsettling. Thousands of objects, each no larger than a ground vehicle, materialized throughout the fleet formation. They had been there all along, drifting silent and invisible among the Valkorian ships. "What are those?" Vrex demanded. His answer came in the form of coordinated devastation. The objects, humanity called them hornets, attached themselves to Valkorian hulls and detonated. Not with conventional explosives, but with contained antimatter reactions. 30 ships died in the first wave, their shields useless against weapons that had materialized inside their defensive perimeters. "Return fire! All ships, return fire!" Vrex roared, but there was nothing to fire at. The Hornets were autonomous, requiring no control ships. They swept through the Armada like a plague of metal and fire. Too small for capital weapons to target effectively, too numerous for point defense to stop. Then the human fleet revealed itself. They didn't emerge from hiding places. They rose from Earth itself, from the oceans, from beneath the surface of the moon, from the atmospheres of Jupiter and Saturn. Hundreds of vessels, each one a testament to human paranoia and preparation. They had turned their entire system into a fortress. Admiral Mitchell appeared on every Valkorian screen simultaneously, her message broadcasting on all frequencies. "For 80 years we've known you were out there. Every nation on Earth united, under a single purpose, to be ready when the galaxy came calling. We studied every transmission, every piece of debris that drifted into our system. We reverse-engineered, we innovated, we prepared. Did you think we were building cities? We were building bunkers. Did you think we were mining resources? We were building weapons. Every human alive has trained for this day. The battle began in earnest. Valkorian weapons refined over millennia, lashed out with precision and power. Human ships died, vaporized by energies that could crack moons. But for every human vessel destroyed, 3 Valkorian ships fell to weapons that defied conventional understanding. Kinetic rounds accelerated to near-light speed, gravity bombs that created localized singularities, and worst of all, the human willingness to ram when all else failed. Thex watched in horrified fascination as a damaged human cruiser, its engines failing, set a collision course with a Valkorian battleship. The human crew could have evacuated, but they stayed at their posts, broadcasting a single message. "Remember the Alamo." The collision destroyed both vessels, but the humans considered it a fair trade. "They're insane," Vrex whispered, watching, his fleet dwindle. No species fights like this. No, Thex corrected quietly. They're human. I tried to warn the Council. They don't fight for glory or conquest. They fight for survival. And that makes them more dangerous than any empire. The turning point came when Earth itself entered the battle. The planet's surface erupted with launches, not ships, but missiles. Thousands upon thousands of them, each one carrying a payload that human history had hoped never to use again. Nuclear weapons. But these were not the crude atom splitters of their past. These were directed energy warheads, designed to channel the full force of fusion into coherent beams of destruction. The space around Earth became a lattice of nuclear fire. Valkorian ships, their shields designed for energy weapons and kinetic impacts, found themselves unable to cope with the sheer variety of human aggression. The mighty Fifth Armada, undefeated in 1,000 engagements, was being torn apart by a single world's defenders. Admiral Mitchell's face appeared on the Eternal Dominion screen, one final time. Behind her, Thex could see what looked like a command center staffed by hundreds of humans all working with grim determination. Admiral Vrex, she said, her tone almost gentle now. You've lost 60% of your fleet. Your flagship is damaged. Your supply lines are cut, but we're offering you something we rarely give: mercy. Take your remaining ships and leave. Tell your empire that Earth is not for conquest. We don't want your worlds. We don't want your technology. We don't want your submission. We just want to be left alone to chart our own course among the stars. She paused, and when she spoke again, there was steel in her voice. But if you stay, if you continue this attack, we will destroy every last ship. And then, Admiral, we will take our fleet to your worlds. Not to conquer, but to ensure you never threaten us again. The choice is yours. Vrex turned to Thex, his purple blood seeping from a head wound sustained when the bridge took a hit. How? How did primitives do this? Thex looked at the tactical display, at the wreckage of Empire floating in space, at the human ships holding formation like wolves around wounded prey. Because they're not primitives, Admiral. They never were. They're survivors, and we made the mistake of threatening their survival. The retreat order was given. The remaining Valkorian ships limped away from Sol system, their crews struggling to comprehend what had happened. As they prepared to enter hyperspace, one final message reached them from Earth. Marcus Chen's face appeared, the same diplomat who had given the first warning. Commander Thex, Admiral Vrex, and all who witness this, humanity extends an offer, not of submission or alliance, but of understanding. We will share our history with you, the full account of our wars, our mistakes, our triumphs. Study it. Learn from it. Understand that we are not your enemy unless you make us so. The galaxy is vast enough for all of us, but if you come for Earth again, you'll find we've only shown you a fraction of what we're capable of when cornered. As the Valkorian fleet vanished into hyperspace, Admiral Sarah Mitchell stood on the bridge of Earth's flagship, looking at the debris field that had once been the galaxy's most feared armada. Her executive officer approached quietly. Admiral, should we pursue? She shook her head. No, we've made our point. Besides, the real victory isn't in defeating them. It's in what comes next. What comes next, Admiral? Sarah Mitchell smiled, the first genuine expression of warmth she'd shown in days. Now, Commander, humanity steps out of the shadows, on our terms. The galaxy just learned that Earth is not to be trifled with, but they haven't learned yet what we can be as friends. That lesson will reshape everything. In the depths of space, amid the wreckage of empire and the birth of legend, Earth stood unveiled. The galaxy had trembled when it encountered human warships, not because of their power, but because of the will behind them. For humanity had brought something new to the cosmic stage, the absolute determination to remain free, no matter the cost. The aftermath would ripple across 300 systems. Stories would be told of the day the unstoppable Valkorian Empire met the immovable will of humanity, and in the telling, a truth would emerge that would change the galaxy forever. Sometimes the most dangerous species aren't the ones with the biggest empires or the most advanced technology. Sometimes they're the ones who have stared into extinction and said, "Not today."